allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Our first thing on the agenda is the Ball Pioneer Farm Trust rezone, ordinance 114. We have the second reading and a possible adoption. Is there anyone here to speak of that? I'll move it.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Fishback, second by Sutton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, this will be reflected as roll call on the minutes.
Max, you want to take just care of a couple things while we wait for a few minutes here?
Okay, the minutes from February 13th general meeting. Move. Second.
Moved by Hanson, second by Kipley. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Same.
carries.
Oops, sorry. Claims and payroll.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Hanson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
HR report.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Fishback, second by Sutton. All in favor?
How about
Opposed?
seconded by Kipley?
Oh, I did it.
I wrote down Kipley.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Vacation system. Abatements.
Move.
Second.
Moved by second by Hanson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Claim assignment. Move.
Second.
Moved by Kipley, second by Sutton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorize advertising ordinance 115. This is in regard to the Jake breaks.
Move it.
Second. Moved by Sutton, second by Fishback. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
This is a lease for Aberdeen Home Builders. Move.
Second.
Moved by Kipley, second by Sutton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Approve the tax deed sale that was held last Friday and authorize the chair to sign the quitclaim deeds.
Who attended that? Anybody?
I conduct the auction.
Okay. And the ones that were on there, the minimum price is what was
Right.
gotten? Okay.
Right.
Okay. I'd move them.
I'll second.
Moved by Kipley, second by Hanson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The 2017 landfill compliance certification report.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Fishback, second by Hanson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I have.
We're just about a minute off, so I think we can probably go right into... Next item on the agenda, it's about a minute early, but I think we'll be all right. We have Harvey Oliver to discuss the assessment plan. Harvey, would you like to sit at the end of the table?
Sure.
There's some complaint forms on the end down there if you want to...
I have none. My question is, what is the assessment plan? I mean, I've had a discussion with Gene. He gave me... Yeah, I got a copy of the department's, I got a copy of the Department of Revenue's letter, and then I discussed it with Gene, and he had indicated that perhaps the department's going to be changing their opinion a little bit. So I guess he and I were discussing what the plan was going forward and what the thoughts were to do about the past, if this is accurate. In other words, I think it's important that we all have at least an idea of what a consensus as to what the situation is in the Department of Revenue, the County Commission, or whomever. Yeah, because I said, I had a discussion, apparently Attorney General Jackley has been following it, and he contacted me yesterday to talk about it. I had emailed him a number of questions I had, legal questions to which neither one of us had any answers. And I think it's important, probably from my thought would be to at least let's have a consensus as to what the issues are and what the legal recommendation would be to the commission. So I was operating off of the Department of Revenue's letter indicating that there was a requirement that the neighborhood plan receive their approval, which wasn't done, and then that the data going forward didn't justify the neighborhood plan going forward into the 2018 assessments. Whether that's true or not, I don't have an opinion. But I wanted to see what the plan was and see if there was any other options. Gene and I discussed, part of the media reports indicated that on the past assessments, because someone didn't appeal it, there was no remedy for the taxpayers to address it, and I think that's not true. I mean, there are two statutes that deal with taxpayers' remedies. One involves payment under protest, and then there's a requirement that the taxpayers sue the commissioners, sue the county within 30 days to seek a refund for an illegal assessment. There's another statute, I think Gene's aware of both of them. The one question Gene had raised is he had raised the issue of whether or not a taxpayer is required to appeal those assessments before he can avail himself of those two statutes. I'm not aware of any authority, but again, that's another issue that I would think that between the Attorney General and Department of Revenue, they can weigh in, and the state's attorney, and get a consensus. There's no reason, in my view, to have taxpayers or landowners in the county be adversaries. At least I think the first order of business would be to agree on what exactly the law is, and what was done right or wrong, what needs to be remedied, what the county is willing to do to remedy it if there was a well-intentioned error. And I don't think it was any, if there is an error, it was nothing more than that. It's well-intentioned. If a mistake is made, I think the next question is, how do we remedy it? Is the county interested in employing remedies either under the statute or in addition to the statute? Specifically, you know, my reading of the statutes is the refund procedure, if the one's going to be followed, is limited to those two. But that doesn't address the question is, can the county commissioners employ a procedure apart from the statutes to remedy any improper assessment or collection of taxes? And that was my discussion partly with Attorney General Jackley yesterday. He's offered his office. He's willing to get tax attorneys involved to assist the commission in addressing those issues. But he too doesn't know whether or not the county can employ its own procedures in addition to the statutory ones to address it if they're inclined to do so. So I think his question to the commission is, as is mine, in addition to the statutory remedies, is the county willing to employ something in addition to those? So I'm not here to complain or ask anything. I was just wondering what's going on, what is the status of this, and what's the plan going forward?
Well, to be quite frankly, on my side of things, we really don't know because we're getting different. You got the Department of Revenue that we send our analysis into every year, and they bring it back, and all of a sudden we're doing something wrong. So we're sitting here just thinking, where do we go from here? I mean,
that's exactly what I started this off with. Is my thought was, again, Attorney General Jackley has offered his office. He has said that the Department of Revenue is not under him. That's an executive branch. But there is a relationship, albeit an informal one, between the Attorney General's office and the department as to offering tax advice. And he had mentioned to me that the department is a little short of attorneys right now. David Wiest is the director, so he doesn't have a lot of time. And he mentioned two other names who have left the department to pursue more lucrative positions in the private sector. So he and I brainstorming were thinking, maybe it's best to find out what the commission is inclined to do, and then let's try to get a consensus between the department, the Attorney General, and the state's attorney, and whoever, as to what the advice should be to the county commissioners.
Well, I think our number one thing is to get it fixed. In the interest of full disclosure, these maps were given to the state starting in 2010 when productivity took effect. And so the fact that we're screwing up, there's some shared responsibility there. And we we do want to fix it.
And
If we're
and I
doing it
said,
wrong, we're going to fix it.
There's a
That's
mistake,
number
it's
one.
well-intentioned.
Yeah.
Nobody was out to get anybody here. I mean, but...
I was getting myself.
Hear that?
So, I mean, that's my thought, but I mean, and as he said, this is more of a discussion probably that the state's attorney would understand and the attorney general is, again, there's 2 statutes that allow for this. But that requires lawsuits against the county, it requires a bunch of procedures, and frankly, even being a lawyer myself, is it worth my time to start a lawsuit against people who are well-intentioned? I mean, I'm not interested in doing
Against
it.
yourself?
Well, yeah, you're gonna,
Yeah.
you know, get Chris with 250 lawsuits for people who can get their $600 refund?
And you're
Or
paying the bill.
$1,200 refund? Exactly. So my as we were brainstorming is, can we avoid those statutes? Yes, the county has to protect its budget and the process, and that's why those 2 statutes are in place.
Okay.
But can the county do something on their own? Rapid City did it, for example, in 2002 when they were sued on an illegal sales tax. They set up their own refund process. Refund probably doesn't work. You might want to look at a credit over time. But they set up their own refund process when they were faced with a class action lawsuit. And that resolved theirs. So the question that I have, as I said, along with 6 or 7 others that I gave to Attorney General Jackley, is can the county even do that? Can we set up a process that says, we're going to undo this, make it right, do it in an orderly way that the school districts, whoever else is impacted, aren't so negatively impacted, and do we need their consent?
Then to make it even, do we take the ones that should have been paying more? Do they have to pay more for a while?
I don't know how the
See, it's like a
assessments are up.
two-sided coin.
Well,
Oh, you mean
Yeah.
the other townships? Because
Yeah.
as you equalize,
To
those
equalize
that
the
are overpaid
tax,
means those have to pay up more.
Mhm.
And that's why, do you do it as a credit? I don't know those answers, I just have...
I'm just saying,
I have multiple
I'm just-
pages
yeah.
of questions that nobody could answer since Friday. This
We've
thing
been
came
trying
up quick.
to.
You
But I
know.
think to answer your question, Oliver, Harvey, is what the county intends to do, or what our intentions are. We've already done that by adjusting the 2018 assessment. We've had the neighborhoods adjusted down to 1 being the top versus 1.18. So that change we've already made, 18 payable 19. So I think that speaks volumes to what our intentions are. We want to do what's right based on the letter we received that we asked for from the Department of Revenue. We submit this every year as was stated. They sign off on it. So they're the ones that have given us permission to implement our assessment plan.
Yeah.
Well, now that we've asked for an evaluation, a more precise evaluation, having received the letter, we've already made the adjustments. And the problem that I have with, whether we're even able to, and if the Attorney General doesn't know, we're going to have to do a lot of homework to determine what, if anything, we're able to do on past year's taxes.
Well, that's why
Once that's determined, then we'll be able to maybe do something. But at the same time, we're not the only decision makers in this whole taxing process. We merely collect the taxes. We'll have to visit with the school district. Are they willing to offer credit? The rural fire districts, are they willing to offer credits or refunds? James River Water Development District, the other entities that receive a portion of your property taxes, we're just one piece of this puzzle. And if we agree to do something, every one of those other entities are also going to have to agree to either a credit or a refund, whatever we're legally able to do based on advice that the Attorney General has to give us.
Those are all the questions in my
Yeah.
multiple pages
So
that
it's
I
kind
thought
of a
of.
convoluted answer to questions that we don't know
And my
right
only
now.
suggestion was, and since the Attorney General has offered it, and he's reaching out to Michael Weiss, to Dave Weiss, is to take him up on that. Find out what those answers are,
Yep.
and the recommendation is. As it started out, said, there's no reason to be adversaries between taxpayers and the county and the taxing entities. Let's find out. Let's try to get a consensus on what the law is, what the best way to do it. If you can do it, if you can't, so be it. I wasn't here, that's all I was, this all unfolded since Tuesday. Can you get the letter you and I spoke?
Oh, last week, Monday,
Yeah.
so, late Monday.
Well, but I mean, since you and I have talked, just to find out. So those are all issues, and the Attorney General hasn't had time to resolve them. They're not easy issues that we can solve over the weekend. I don't even know the answer if the other entities have to consent to the plan, credit. But I do know there's some time issues. If, for example, taxpayers are obligated to follow those two procedures, particularly the payment under protest and suing, that's an obligation. If they're stuck following that, they've got to do it. I mean, they've got to pay their taxes under protest and then commence the suit within 30 days. And there's another procedure that's even more cumbersome, and I understand that eventually the burden of the refund, if there is one, on those will fall on the other entities also, and it's a long process. It's not just you win your lawsuit and you get a check the next day. But it's a cumbersome process. It's a lengthy process. It's not cheap for taxpayers either, and no one wants to sue anybody, especially for $600 or $1,200 or even, like I said, even if, as my own attorney, it's time consuming, it's expensive versus the return. And for those that have to pay lawyers, it's just not very economical.
Well, I can assure you, we as a commission, speaking for myself, our intent was never to overtax our taxpayers of Brown County. I mean, it's just one of those things that came up, and, you know, how do you fix it? I don't know anybody's had an answer, but I think we have to investigate how we're going to handle this.
And that's why I came in today, as I saw the newspaper reports about no one appealed it, so they're out of luck. That wasn't true. There were other avenues and remedies that needed to be explored and discussed, and that was really one of the only reasons of coming forward. And then when this letter came out, that raised additional issues.
And that statement was right out of the Department of Revenue's letter saying there was no recourse. So we were just going by the letter, because that's what the letter states. Because no one appealed, there's no recourse. So that's just what the letter states.
This one?
Yeah. The way I read it.
I can tell you this, the Department of Revenue, Mr. Howdy Shell that wrote the letter, informed us. If it's not in the letter, he informed me personally that there's no remedy. So I've never looked at the statute, so I guess I would ask RV to, if he could give me, I've seen the letter.
No, that's attached.
If
Two statutes.
RV could put something together laying out those statutes, I'd sure like to look at them.
Email I got from Wendy Selmer at Revenue just states anyone can pay taxes under protest, then must file a lawsuit or refund. During the legal proceedings of trying to get a refund, it's done through the abatement process, in 1018-1 through 1018-8. The taxpayer would have to prove a reason for abatement. And according to, there is an AG opinion addressing the point that the overassessment is not a reason for refund. And I don't know if that's just because it's not on the list of, the laundry list of reasons for a refund or whatever there is, but that's a response I got from the Department of Revenue, is that overassessment's not a reason for a refund.
And the question, I think the question whether the issue is an overassessment or is it an illegal assessment.
Yeah?
And so that is an illegal tax or an overassessment. An overassessment, yeah, you say my land is worth X amount of dollars assessed, and it's a difference of opinion, but we've applied the correct methodology. And illegal assessment is entirely different. I mean, that's the question.
Yeah.
I mean, there's two provisions in 18, when you're talking about, there's two sentences, what exactly do they mean? Because you're allowed to employ that statute if the county has acted illegally in extending the tax. I don't know what that means.
I don't even.
Well, we want to do the right thing. Just need to figure out what it is. I think Gene also has been calling around to other counties and kind of getting a feel for how they were assessing and stuff, and I think there's been some variances from other counties also from what's been happening, so I don't know that Brown County is unique to other counties, but I think if you took all the counties in South Dakota, I don't know that all assessors are on the same page.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we need to check out too, is find out we have this mess of nobody seems to give us the right answer. We have other counties doing things differently than what we were doing. Where is the answer lie in that? I don't know if there is one at this point.
And I think, going to your comment, I mean, that's the question I asked. Is the county going to say, you didn't appeal your assessments? Of course, nobody knew you were doing that. We have the statute, you snooze, you lose, or finders, keepers, losers, weepers. Is that what the county's position is? You know? Here's all these obstacles, you go through them. Yes, we did it wrong, but these are the rules, and you aren't going to get any relief. No.
I don't think that's fair to say nobody knew what he was doing. That map was out for anybody to look at.
Yeah, and to that end, I know this gets brought up at every township equalization meeting when we have our township supervisors, when they come in and pick up their books and go through, how the assessment procedures and the appeal procedures work. I know that I've had a lot of discussions with township supervisors that certainly know that these neighborhoods are in place and haven't agreed with them at different times, and don't necessarily agree with where the lines are drawn. I mean, they've been township supervisors. Every township has supervisors that are aware of it. Whether taxpayers within the township, it's out there to see.
But I mean, the letter also indicates it was never submitted to the state for approval. Whether it's true or not, I don't
No,
know.
it said after 11.
After 11.
They had it in
right?
10, they had it in 11. For some reason, they don't think it was in after that, but why would we have changed?
When did we
They
go-
hadn't told us.
Especially
there was
when we
a
did
problem.
it in 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me, what was that?
When did we start?
Started the neighborhoods, 2010 was the first year of the productivity, and we did create a neighborhood at that time, and we created 2 neighborhoods at that time. It had some issues in that the statute did not allow for sales of market and location. That wordage was actually added to 1031-3 in 11 to allow for location and to make adjustments according to sales. And then we created another neighborhood, sent that map into the state at that time, and have never changed it since, up until 2018, which is why we created a new map, because we were changing where our neighborhoods are at.
I think that just illustrates the goal of trying to come to a common understanding of what the rules are and where we're at.
I think legally speaking, we don't want to put the cart before the horse here. The county may have done something wrong, but we're still working through with the Department of Revenue. When I spoke with the Department of Revenue last week when that letter came out, we're supposed to respond, and we haven't had a chance to respond yet, mainly because we haven't met since the letter came out as the county commission. So I think we need to go that step first. I would also point out Department of Revenue said one county bigger than us is doing the exact same thing as us. So I'd like to work with that county, and maybe the AG's office, maybe Harvey's correct, we need to go through the AG's office and have them work it out for everyone. I think that's probably best, but we need to work through that plan. I haven't looked at the statute, Harvey, where the 30 days start to run, but at this point, I don't think the county's agreeing that we've done anything wrong. We're keeping that possibility open, but we need to work through the process.
And that's what I'm saying, is I'm not here to tell you what the law is either, or anybody did anything wrong, but at least, as we said, we've got to come to a common understanding of what the rules are.
But people are starting to pay their real estate taxes too, and if they need to be paid under protest, then that is a situation that's going to have to be addressed pretty quickly.
And they're going to have to address that. Unfortunately, we can't just snap our fingers and come up with a convoluted legal answer here, because that's a mess. I mean, Harvey knows that.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying, that there are these other statutes. People need to just have to follow them for now. We'll have to deal with it until we can come to an agreed upon plan. not to be part of it, but I'm just saying the state's attorney, the Department of Revenue, and the Attorney General. I'm just conveying, he reached out and said he might not have time to do a formal opinion, but there's no reason the three entities can't work together to come to a common agreement.
Also, speaking of paying taxes under protest, those monies are not supposed to be dispersed until after 30 days has expired, that nothing's happening, or until there's been a resolution to the case. So that also is part of what comes into play there also.
Just came to throw out some ideas.
Well, I think it's important that we work with the Attorney General, State Attorney's Office, and Department of Revenue to see what's legal, what we're allowed to do, what we're not allowed to do. There's a lot of questions that we don't have answers for right
And
now.
whether we did anything wrong or not.
Exactly.
Dennis?
Let me say a few words.
Thanks, Harvey.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey.
Dennis Fikert. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul couldn't make it today. He's home shoveling out feed bunks. But anyway, I think we all know that assessing properties is not a perfect science. And I think that just in my own experience back in 2010, when the law was passed for valuing ag land based on productivity, when Brown County implemented that, in the northwest part of the county, and myself in particular, with grassland, I paid full assessment, or paid taxes on full assessment right up front. And then, if you go back in the records and look, I think that the very properties that we're talking about today were assessed at roughly 18 to 20%. And so, did the county do something illegal? I don't think so, because all of what has been done has been cleared through the Department of Revenue. Excuse me. And as much respect as I have for the Department of Revenue, I'm sure that their intent was not to lead Brown County astray or to lead them in some direction that would create a bunch of lawsuits. I guess one of my concerns is, after having served on the county commission some years back and talking about abatements or refunds, however you want to put it, those monies are obligated, and I think Dwayne kind of alluded to that fact. Has anybody figured out what that total amount of dollars could potentially be, and what kind of an impact that could actually have on this county or other counties? And does that have something to do with why the laws drawn in respect to abatements are what they are? And I guess, I don't think that there's any question that, probably the Department of Revenue, along with the AG's office, needs to help Brown County. I don't think there's any question about it. But if we think that assessing ag property, or any property for that matter, is a perfect science, it's not. And so, I don't know, do I then have the opportunity to go back to 2010 and say, hey, I paid taxes on, way too much taxes on property when it wasn't equalized across the county? I don't think so. And so, with that, I guess, I haven't got much more to say about it. I mean, to me, it's a mess. I think the state of South Dakota Department of Revenue approved it. It's obvious they approved it. The neighborhooding, I mean, the city of Aberdeen, if you go up and down the streets or the different areas, that's all neighborhooded. If you look back on the map, back in 2009, or at whatever point Richard Rick was our Director of Equalization, you might say that those were neighborhoods, because if you look at the map, I mean, why did the word or the name implying neighborhoods, seems to me like that's caused a tremendous amount of confusion and unrest in this whole entire thing. It's too bad that title or name had to be put on that. And but anyway, with that, I guess, it's kind of where I'm at. So,
Nice to see you at the table, Dennis.
thank you.
I remember when it started, I remember when Dennis was talking about, because the tillable land, the cropland was way under assessed according to the new productivity, and we had to make that up. It took years to catch that back up, and you were already at the top.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember that.
And when productivity first went into effect, they had a cap on what you could increase every year, and I believe they had to adjust that cap up because we would have never caught up based on the original cap. I think we had to raise it to 25% from 15 or something.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. And I think, you know, we can talk about whether assessing ag land based on productivity. I mean, there's the argument out there too that it should be all on market value. Well, there was a reason why we went to a productivity model, because you couldn't use those sales that were over 150% were thrown out. It was, I mean, anybody that's followed any of the history of all of that knows why those things took place. And again, I don't think the county did anything illegal. I mean, what did they do illegal? A mistake? Maybe a mistake, maybe not. If the Department of Revenue said it was okay, you know.
Dennis, I think you're absolutely correct when you say there's no perfect model. And correct me if I'm wrong, maybe someone knows, I believe every year since 2010, the legislature has slightly tweaked the productivity laws to accommodate unforeseen circumstances that have arisen because of productivity. I think every year there's been, and you were there, I think every year there's been a bill to slightly tweak to adjust for things that no one could foresee. So it's probably still not done being tweaked.
There's another point that I'm going to make in all of this, and that is that if you look at what percentage of the assessed value ag land pays in taxes to the schools versus what the homes pay, you kind of got to be a little bit careful what you talk about when you get down to Pier, because not only that, but the mill levy is different on ag land versus residential properties. So if you want to stir up that whole hornet's nest and go down there and really get everybody really riled up, just keep pushing along, keep egging it along. You know, just a little word of advice and a little word of caution in the whole entire thing. And I'm not trying to say that that's right or wrong. I'm just trying to say that that's the way it is.
It is what it is, yeah.
And so be careful what
I don't think most taxpayers in Brown County had a problem with what their assessment was until we had our little incident with an fired employee, which probably had a little bit of a grudge. And one of the things, and this article is written by Department of Labor, and probably why we didn't have people, it pretty much states in South Dakota the property owner has a right to ensure their property is being assessed no more than market value. If the value listed on March 1st assessment is notices and what the owner thinks he can sell it for, how many of you have an assessed value that more than what you think you can sell your land for? I don't think we've reached that. I think anybody that's got a quarter of a ground that's assessed at 200, I don't think anybody's going to sell it for 200,000. That's why we didn't have a flood of people coming into this whole deal.
Well, now, in that whole productivity model, what I see as a big mistake, or not a mistake, but a problem there is the fact that the price of corn and the commodities in a matter of a year, year and a half, 2 years, what they have done in compared to the adjustment time, and I mean, that can cause a whole nother stir of issues if you, I mean, you know, you kind of got to let the system work too, and so...
Well, myself or we as a commission probably aren't going to solve the problem, but I believe Chris and Gene and Marty Jackley, I think those are the people we need to get involved and get some answers, because I'll be honest with you, I have no answers. I'm not an assessor, I'm not an attorney. I think we need to step higher up and get some answers for this program and find out and let our taxpayers know what we can do and what we can't do. That's my only opinion, and I don't know where we go from here, but I think we continue down that path of getting some higher authority and working with the Department of Revenue and see where we end up. And it probably won't be something we're going to know in 5 days, because you know what it's like trying to connect with all these departments. It's going to take some time.
On one hand, the county gets an order to put in $200,000 worth of security in the courthouse, and then what's the number on the potential abatements or refund? Sky's the limit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate your comments.
Does anybody have anything else to add to our assessment ordeal?
Did we arrange to get a hold of Mr. Howdy-Shell?
He's been gone all week, and he didn't call me yet this morning, but we can certainly get him on the line and see if we can talk to him.
All that.
Do we need to?
The only thing is that after the letter came last Monday, and I talked to him on Tuesday morning, Rachel and I actually had talked to him, and he had said that he would go ahead with our proposed neighborhoods for now. He'd approve them for now, and work with them in the future, come up with something to create some productivity-based adjustments for 2019. I would like to possibly have that out in the open where he may have stated that, whether we could get him to state that in a meeting or write it to us or something.
And that was the revamped ones lower to the
The revamped
one.
one, right, the one in the 97 and the one in the 87 and the 80. He had seen the new neighborhood, I guess that's my term, neighborhood map. And it said, especially with the time frame and assessments having to go out within the next, well, they're actually at the printers right now, that there really wasn't time to do something different. Go ahead and do this, and then work with revenue as far as coming up with something to make our adjustments. Find some productivity-based reasoning for the adjustments as opposed to them being market-based adjustments. I believe market-based adjustments show you that there probably needs to be an adjustment, and you'd have to pursue a productivity reason for that market-based adjustment, and that's what Department of Revenue is interested in. And I think we have some avenues to go down and find some reasoning why there's some difference, why the north sells in the south. We have some, one-rated soils in the north, or Winship, Beosha Winship soils, or 1.0, our top-rated soils are little ribbons of ravines and wet spots and things. If you go up north into Claremont or farther north Detroit, South Detroit, we got some of those 1.0 rated soils that haven't been farmed, haven't had a crop in them in 20 years. They're ditches with weeds growing in them. Beosha Winship, Beosha Rondelles, 0.96, Beosha, they're 9.8s. And they're all of our best rated soils all over in the south too, but in the north particularly where there's been water, those are all little perfect world ribbons of land that when Table 1 came out in the 1980s probably produced the best corn in the county. Right now, probably our best soils are going to be things with soil ratings in the 8s is probably better than things with soil ratings in the 9s. There may be some things where we need to look at, some things to tweak within our neighborhoods, and Department of Revenue seems pretty willing to come down here, send somebody down and take a look at that with me. I do think if you talk to some of the folks up north, they'll talk about growing days, heat days, things like that, difference in that 50-mile spread from the north end to the south end. That may very well come into play. The market does show you that. The market shows you there's a difference between the north and the south, and for the most part, there's probably a productivity reason for that, and we'll just have to show Department of Revenue a reason that corresponds with that market-based adjustment. And I'm willing to work with them, they're willing to work with me the way it sounds, and they're certainly not opposed to there being adjustments. They hope that individual counties do look at things and do study their county and make sure things seem to be fair from one end to the other. They seem to be all about making adjustments, but they don't. But they want to make sure that they're is a productivity reason behind it.
Maybe we can get a letter from Mike.
Suppose we request a letter approving our 2018 payable in 2019 as the new plan. Is that what we would like to have done, or do you want to try to call them, or?
I think we can, if we can get something, other than,
Why don't we wait a week till he hears from him for sure,
well,
or you want to, or you need to do it
I
now?
think, well, it'd be okay to get something lined up ahead of time so we know what's going on, but, I think, Rachel and I talked to him, but that's just on the phone in my office, so it'd be nice to have something a little more
Official.
out in the open.
Yeah, we know what they do to us.
Yeah, maybe you can, I like it in writing.
Why
That
don't
way
you
no
just
one's
draft a letter saying,
misinterpreting
based on
it.
your recommendations from your February whatever letter, this is what we're doing. Send it down to him so we can get it back and get the
All right.
okay, or,
I think we do that, and I think we also respond to his letter with our official
Yeah.
response, right?
yep.
Maybe you and Chris can work it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Anybody have anything else regarding assessment? Okay. Max, do you have any more? Gary, do you have anything for us?
Couple of things. Mentioned to you that Scott Bader was asking a little bit again about possible help. I did call the SCSCP. Still nobody available for us to sponsor, so that's not an option. So then I called Kelly Services out of Sioux Falls to see if it's possible for them to do something up in this region, and they do periodically. So if you wanted to have them advertise for a part-time position or something, they're certainly willing to do that. It's basically 41% over the hourly wage of probably $12 to $14 they were guessing, so that'd be another option, or we could try and do something ourselves. So it's kind of up to what you want to do.
Kelly Service has an office in Aberdeen, or is it?
They do not have an office here, but they do recruitments and run it out of their office in Sioux Falls.
Under Express Personnel?
That I didn't check.
Are we going to have to do some, will we have room for everyone and rearranging what the new judges request, or?
I think there's room in there right now if it's a part-time temporary thing, but I didn't know if we were moving them. That's something we're still talking about.
Well, we're going to have to move someone.
Why don't we check with Express Employment in Aberdeen here and see if they have anything that's temporary, part-time, or being they're local, I don't know that how much luck we'll have with out of Sioux Falls coming to Aberdeen, but
Okay.
check with them and see if there's anything part-time or what they've got for a program.
I think it makes more sense to contract with someone non-employee, at least for an initial period of time, to determine how many hours a week someone's needed. That way we can better make a decision if we need it, if we truly do need a part-time person in there. And just after 90 days reevaluate and say, yeah, we do, or no, we don't, and go from there. That way we're not hiring an employee to find out we maybe don't need them.
And the temp service would be much more likely avenue to go down, so I think we try that once and see what Express Employment has here in Aberdeen, if they have anything. And you did check with Experience Works?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the SC.
Okay. Okay.
I have the payroll contract here for if that's ready to request a signature from the chair. I don't know if that's what you're ready to move forward on that, or what you want to do.
I know there was some question whether that would be acceptable to legislative audit, and I think you did get confirmation this morning that legislative audit had no issues with us contracting with a private company to do payroll. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Fine. So what are we going to need here? We're going to need a motion for this, or?
You'll have to authorize the chair to sign if that's what you want to move forward on.
And everything's been cleared with IT and all our departments as far as how everything's handled, and
Well, we'll have to get them, we'll probably send them either last week's final payroll and have them work with that and see if there's any concerns or this upcoming one next week, so.
To get us set up and everything.
In meeting with them last week, they kind of wanted to do a test run just to make sure everything was what we were expecting and make sure they didn't run into any unforeseen
Which would be,
situations.
And will they run right off the Sundial then? Will that be
Correct.
right
Yeah,
into their
get a
system?
CSV file from Sundial.
And I know there were a lot of questions as far as, you know, who would be handling what, and the biggest thing, the most important thing to remember is this is merely payroll processing, and we will have an in-house individual continue to do the HR responsibilities.
And the in-house person will enter everything in Encode from
Yeah.
Sundial. Because Sundial is the timekeeping, and Encode is the payroll package.
I can't answer that because I don't know how Encode works. I don't know.
But that's the issue, if, like Max said, if somebody's gonna double enter it into the Encode system, that's what they're doing now.
why are we double entry? How come there isn't
That's how
a...
it's always
Don't
been.
say it always done that way, you know how I love
No,
that.
no, Nancy, we have. Even when they're, okay.
Even when your office did it, you did double entry. They didn't have Sundial.
You're
have Sundial, I think.
double entry is the wrong word for it. Okay, prior to Sundial, the individual departments made timesheets.
Okay, but, okay, let's go with, just
And-
start now with Sundial. What do you do when we did it here with Sundial? How did you get it into your Encode?
We enter it in, just like...
You did?
No, well, the
Aaron-
auditors, no.
Aaron enters it
Aaron entered it into
into the
Encode.
Encode.
Okay,
And
That's
then they
when
process the
Andrea
checks.
moved into
So
Gary's
if we,
office.
this is just a question,
Mhm.
an IT question probably, can the company just download it on something that can be ready to go into Encode, that they can just download it into? To me, that would be possible, because
Yeah.
if it's entry, if they have the
If that'd be
relationship, they
the
can do it.
case, we'd be doing that now. I mean, basically, yeah, that's been the issue, is that Encode isn't open to where we can just automatically put Sundial into Encode.
So, is there something, well, with Encode, we can't change Encode? We
Well,
can't
that's
enter
the
it another way?
question. I mean, what Paul asked, and we can call him up, Paul asked Friday was if it'd be possible to invoice the departments for those payroll entries, and you'd be just entering per department with the reports that all the reports, you still have all the taxes and everything. But that was one of his questions Friday, but
So, what is the purpose? Okay, the payroll I understand, Encode is just making the debits and credits in your office, correct?
Well, it's the basis of our budget.
Yeah, and I understand that, Max.
I mean-
I'm just saying that, like, if they can do it by
These are the
department.
steps that Encode, we do for Encode. Kathy, before she left, had typed that up for Aaron and Jeanette and Sarah.
So, say the payroll for the commission.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do after the payroll's done?
Enter it into Encode so we can
What are you
write the
entering?
check.
But aren't we going to issue the checks right from them?
No, we can't, because they can't have access to our checking account.
So you need to have each payroll check downloaded into something here.
But most of them are automatic deposits, so there's
Yeah.
the number
And
of...
currently, we hit the button to hit that checking account.
And we can't have the payroll people do it.
Not unless you're gonna give them your checking account.
We're not giving them...
We're not
any-
giving them a checking
We're
account.
just authorizing them to make an
To
automatic
hit
deposit.
our checking account, if they're going to send it to the bank, they are accessing your checking account.
So they send it to the bank, and you say, hit the button. What's the difference?
My name is one of the signatories on all checks and ACHs.
So,
But in...
why can't you
realistically,
authorize
Ram
us to
would
do
be-
it?
Ram would be totally insured. I mean, it's pretty common for all companies just to make automatic deposits, outside sources to make they're all insured if something was to go wrong. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know that, I suppose with all the hacking nowadays, anything could happen. I mean, somebody could hack into our systems. I don't know how,
And they have, probably.
I guess I don't know that, if they take and deposit checks automatically, there's insurance for them if something goes wrong.
That would be more Sheila's, because she is the keeper of the money in the county. I just spend it.
Chris, do you see anything that we would have
I guess,
a
I
problem doing this?
suppose that
Not off
should
the top of my
research,
head,
but
I would assume any company that uses outside payroll and does it that way, and generally, I'm thinking private company probably has better technology to keep checking accounts safe than us here at the county, but that's just me. So, I don't know.
And I can't, I know the office where I work, that we do lots of payrolls. They have access to those bank accounts. They just say, this is a payroll, and it goes.
You should ask Sheila, because, but my question is...
Was Sheila here that day when you had the discussion? Did she bring anything up?
Friday, no.
No?
Just that question, I mean, that's the question, basically.
I don't think the question was asked, was it, Gary?
Well, I really think for the county would be beneficial to do it. And because of that, I'm going to make the motion to authorize Doug to sign the
Just for
contract.
clarification, though, as you stated Friday, everything Erin does now, or did before she quit, the new part-time person will be doing.
As far as HR, yes.
Right, okay.
But not entering into the Encode.
That was one of the major functions Erin did.
That's what
was-
she's asking.
Erin
because-
entered
Yes, that needs to be done.
Aaron
Because-
entered into Encode?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because
Just
that's
like
the
Andrea
difference
did.
between hiring somebody and not hiring somebody.
so, in your opinion, what was that, time consuming?
He could enter.
What did it take her to enter that in for payroll each time, would you guess?
I mean, that's
Because
just
practically
typical
full-time
payroll
job.
time.
Well,
Sundial
then-
is
then we
the
might as well hire
thing that
somebody
has
full-time.
added the
We're
extra
going through
time
that extra
because
motion.
of the
We're not
gaining
gaining
anything.
anything.
But if she was taking Sundial and entering an Encode, is that a 2-hour or 3-hour or 5 hours? I mean,
I don't know.
It varies. I mean, as, we start getting the department stuff in Mondays and some as late as Tuesday morning, and they've been getting it done generally by Tuesday afternoon. I mean, our goal is Wednesday at noon, and so it takes a number of hours to enter everybody in.
And there's no way to bring
That's all.
Sundial into Encode. There's no way to make that just, or RAM to come into that?
We have not looked at, honestly, right, that interface, but so far anything we've done with Encode hasn't been real, because they're an older company, I mean, an older piece of software. So,
Is there anything that a payroll company can download on that we could just download into Encode?
without looking at Encode or talking to Encode, I couldn't answer that. I don't know what provisions they have for that.
Encode, is that like a purposely, was it made by an individual here, or is it a national company?
National
No,
company.
it's
National,
Kind of
but
So they might be
technology.
able to work with us.
it's a patchwork of bought-out companies that they've mixed the software together.
But that would take some time regardless, too.
So then we're not gaining anything by doing it. We just do it as is.
So the
Well, as
other,
long as the part-time person follows this, does this as with everything else you mentioned they'd be doing. I mean, this was on my list, I just didn't get to it Friday.
so the other option is to hire a full-time payroll
Yeah, I think we need to hire them. I would rescind my motion.
And that's what I need.
save any money at all.
Yeah, we're not saving anything.
Because
not a
They've
working
been waiting quite a
proposition.
while, and I'm getting a lot of notice about where we are in the process.
Yeah.
Well, they just have to wait till we make a decision, because we haven't
Yeah.
made one, so they have to just be patient. So it sounds like we just need to hire somebody and bite the bullet.
Yep.
Not
I think
save-
it was a
not-
good, it was a
not
good
save
idea
any
to
money.
explore.
And I would like to thank the companies for giving us their, it would be
I think it would be
It
a
would be
substantial savings
arm's
to the
length
county.
away, no disclosures, no personal involvement. It was everything I dream of.
I don't know, Gary, did Aaron spend 100%? I know Andrea didn't spend 100% doing the HR payroll job.
No, it's Mondays and Tuesdays.
But you can't
literally
hire
every payroll.
Is there
But
any-
then there's a lot of other things that have to.
Right. Is there
occur.
any way, you mentioned earlier that Scott Bader needs help, to have,
That'd be pretty expensive help. Or find someone to pay someone, a competent person to do the payroll is a good wage. And then pay that same person a good wage to file would be ridiculous.
I mean, it was a full-time job, so I don't foresee that person helping out another department too, so.
but Andrea did. I don't know if Aaron reached out. Andrea was doing something for the treasurer's office?
Yeah, that
Is
was
those-
very short term, no, that wasn't very long.
Okay. Because I know it left a hole in our office because of the other things Andrea did in our office. And we just absorbed it.
Okay, so you're gonna go ahead with your hiring process.
Okay.
There's no way to check with our vendor that's gonna do payroll and Encode and Sundial, if there's a way to make that work.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to research it before going into
I
Encode.
just think it's odd that you can't just
Me too.
Download that.
download those back and forth, because there's companies much larger in our county that are on payroll systems. I
Yeah.
mean, there's companies that have 500-600 employees.
There's other counties that are doing it too.
They're not using an antiquated, processing system like we've got. It just,
You know, we can export whatever they can import, that's not a problem on Sundial. It's what is it gonna cost for them to write the interface
To get
to
it
their
into ours.
software.
Do you have a good
And our
contact
Tyler, or
that you can
nothing
reach out
else,
to,
we
or
don't
is
have
it a
any
process?
updated
Well,
anything
I
that
don't
could go in
know
there.
Oh, okay.
the technical
Yeah.
things.
I mean, 'cause maybe they'll do it for 10,000, maybe they'll do it for 100,000, you don't know until you talk to them.
Do you have a good contact that works with Tyler,
Yeah.
that you can reach out to, or is it a process just to get him to?
Well, I think between Gary and I, we can reach out to them.
Tyler's a large company, you would
Oh,
think they'd
monkey.
already have it set up.
Yeah.
How long
They-
do you put the
They do
applicants
for their
on?
people, for
They've got
their,
the timekeeping
I think
system
he'd
in
be
their program,
talking
but
quite
we
a
didn't
while,
go that
that's what are
route.
we gonna do in an
And there's a
interim?
couple good
I
accounting
think there's
jobs.
gotta be a way to
Good
make
paying
that
in the
fit
paper.
somehow, so you don't have
Right.
to enter it twice,
I 100% agree, that's what it should be.
Can we check that before we make the motion to hire?
Can you get it to us by Tuesday?
By next week, we
We
should be.
can try.
See,
We'll talk and we'll give you their
but one of
answer.
the options Tyler's going to suggest is that you go with their timekeeping record that's already interfaced
Well,
with.
we looked at
And
that, it
again, we
wasn't
looked
cost
at that
effective at
You looked
all.
at
back
that.
at the beginning when Andrea was, when we were talking about this, and it wasn't cost effective either, so.
Because we brought that to commission and we decided to write Sundial. And we
Yeah.
researched
I remember knowing.
Tyler, they didn't have all the discretionary pay or the differential, and then it wasn't cost effective at all.
Okay.
Okay.
So by next week?
Sorry, Gary.
Not a problem. And then I don't know if you wanted to go into legal.
Yeah, we did.
I would like to discuss the Department of Revenue issue while Gene's here, if we can.
Okay.
In open?
In legal discussion.
I
move it.
Yeah.
second.
Motion from Kipling, second from Sutton, one exec, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I need a 2-minute break.
No action as a result of exec. sorry.
Yes, oh,
I think you got that, Gary. If you keep getting it, I'll never remember to do it. You gotta hit me once in a while. Anything else to come before the commission today?
You better repeat your election.
Oh, no action as a result of exec, and Chris White was here, and Jean was here just shortly for a little bit for the first one.
Okay.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Second.
Moved by, second by Sutton, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.